So, good evening, guys. This is Matt. Welcome to the Sin Bin. And I decided to do something a little different. I'm going to do a game recap. And the game that I've decided to do it on is the Toronto Maple Leafs Game 2 against the Boston Bruins. Now, there's several playoffs games that happened tonight. And obviously, I only had time to really look at one. So, the one I decided was the Bruins against the Leafs. And holy crap, what a great decision, because this was one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a while. Okay. And one thing that made it really, really entertaining was the number of hits. This game was not for the faint of heart. They were, ooh, sorry, my microphone almost fell. I just sounded like a girl. All right. There was an insane amount of hits. So the Bruins delivered 44 hits and the Maple Leafs delivered 39 for a grand total of, I suck at math, I'm not even going to try. Now, one of the main instigators of this game was no other than one of my people, Nazem Kadri. In case you guys couldn't tell by the beard, I'm an Arab. So Nazem Kadri, I'm looking at his box score right now, 19 penalty minutes. 19 penalty minutes. And on top of that, he scored a goal. Had he not taken so many penalty minutes, probably could have scored 2 or 3. But, as Arabs with us tempers, we get in trouble, we get penalties. And one of the main instigators on the side of Boston was no other than Jake DeBrusk. So Jake DeBrusk delivers a hit to Nazem Kadri in game 1. Vice versa. Kadri delivers a hit on Jake DeBrusk in game 1. DeBrusk doesn't like that. So he takes out all of his frustrations in this game, game number 2. And they were going at it all game long. And it was just really entertaining just to see the little battles happening between them. At some point in the third period, Jake DeBrusk runs Patrick Marleau into the stanchions. And Kadri gets mad and just cross-checks him in the face. And I think he got a 5 in the game for that. But at that point, it didn't really matter because I think the score was 3-1 or 4-1. So, yeah, the score was 4-1. Not really close at any point in this game. The Bruins dominated on all fronts, dominated in shots on goal. The only thing they didn't dominate on was penalty minutes, but they dominated in hits. The thing is, it wasn't close at any point in this game. And Tuukka Rask played great, but they didn't need to rely on him to make a huge amount of saves. They didn't need to rely on him to be the difference maker because as a whole, the Boston Bruins played great. And I say it all the time. If you want to win in this league, if you want to win in the playoffs, your big players have to stand up. And if I'm going through the score sheet for the Bruins, look who scores. Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand. These types of players, these are the players, your top players, you rely on them. You want them to be big in the playoffs. And so many times, being a Canadiens fan, I'm just sitting there waiting. When is Pacioretty going to light it up? When is Pacioretty going to stand up? And he never does. And in this game, the big boys stood up. The Marchands, the Pasternaks, the Bergerons. And that's why the Boston Bruins won. Also, a player I thought played a really underrated game was no other than Big Z, Zdeno Chara. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Why are we talking about Chara? He's not the best-looking guy. Why are you talking about him? I don't want his image in my head. Well, I'm talking about him because I still find it remarkable that a guy at his age can still be somewhat productive in this league. And, he's not like scoring 10 goals a game or anything like that, but he's a good shutdown defenseman. He's scary. He delivered some big hits. Just having him on the ice is a threat to the other team. Okay? Another defenseman on the Bruins I thought played a really good game was Torrey Krug. Now, at some point during the game, Boston was delivering all of the big hits. I remember Pasternak just came and drilled Jake Muzzin, and he got a penalty for it, which shouldn't have been a penalty. And I don't know what the rest are thinking, but that should not have been a penalty. But Pasternak just drilled him. So Boston was pretty much leading in the big hits department. And then all of a sudden, Torrey Krug is coming down the wing, pinching on the offense, and then makes a pass. Admires his pass for a bit too long, and Jake Muzzin just absolutely smacks him. His helmet goes flying to, New Mexico, and he just goes in the boards, and he was a little shaken up. And if memory serves me right, I don't think he came back for the rest of the game. And if they lose him, the Bruins, that's going to be a heavy loss because Torrey Krug, he's just modeled to be a new age defenseman in this league. He's small, he's speedy, he's skilled. And I still think they could get away with him in this round. But, if ever they meet Tampa in the second round, or if ever they meet another team that's stronger than the Maple Leafs, they might need Krug down the line. So another player I was really impressed with is none other than Jake DeBrusk. As I said, he was just battling it out with Nazem Kadri all night. And for the most part, I thought that he came out on top. When Kadri cross-checked him in the face, he stayed on the floor for a bit. I thought he was injured. And then he got up and, oh man, he had a look in his eyes. Holy shit. I did not want to mess with him at that moment. He just looked like he was about to kill someone. And I absolutely mean that. And I don't really watch Boston games that much, so I don't know how physical or how violent Jake DeBrusk can get. But just looking at his look, the look in that eyes, he meant business. So just going down the score sheet here, I couldn't help but notice that Willie Nylander had an assist. And that's funny because on the third goal, he absolutely dished it out to Danton Heinen. Horrible giveaway. And at that point, Toronto had life. Just Jake Muzzin gave that huge hit. Momentum was swinging. And then Nylander goes and gives away the puck. It hits Anderson in the foot. And I think Danton Heinen was credited for the goal. And that's just a stupid play. You don't want to see a player doing that. And I get it. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But if you look back at that play and you look at Nylander, he's way too nonchalant. He's not focusing. He's not being serious. He's just way too nonchalant in the play. And what resulted? A goal for Danton Heinen. Probably the easiest goal he's ever scored in his life. Hell, I suck at hockey. I could have potted that in. Beautiful pass by Willie Nylander. Too bad it was to the wrong player. All right. Another player I was thoroughly disappointed with is the one known as Austin Glasshouse. Of course, I call him Glasshouse because he's made of glass. And by that, I mean he's always getting injured. Austin Glasshouse last year was heavily criticized because he did not have a good playoff. I think he scored one goal, and that was about it. And it looks like this year, the same thing is happening again. And last year, everyone said, hey, let's calm down. Let's calm down. He's a young player. He's 20 years old. It's his first playoffs. Let's give it a rest. However, now the same thing is happening. And it's not like one of those cases where he was a dominant player and he had a dominant game. He just didn't do anything on the score sheet, but he was just everywhere on the ice. No. I watched that game. I watched it from beginning to end, and I didn't take any breaks except to go do diarrhea. And I could definitely tell you Austin Matthews played a crappy game. He was virtually invisible on the ice. And I remember on NBC, they were just saying, he hasn't been there in the past two periods. Hopefully he can get something going. And he didn't. He's a -1, okay? He had 5 shots on goal, which isn't bad. He's a shooter. He's going to shoot a lot. But at 20 minutes of ice time, 20 minutes of ice time, I felt like he played 30 seconds because he was pretty much invisible on the ice. If I had to say who was the best player for Toronto, I think, and I know it's a cliched answer, but I think it'd be Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner was all over the place in game one. And I think he had a few flashes in this game, but still nothing that great. You would definitely expect to see more from the whole team, to be honest. Just you'd expect to see more from the whole team. And Riley was okay. And Frederik Andersen, I know he gave up 4 goals, but let's face it, he was left alone on a lot of those goals. So Oh yeah, one last thing I wanted to touch upon. David Backus. So I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if this is true or not. I read that in game one, David Backus was benched for injuring or almost injuring Charlie McAvoy during practice. And then the coach saw that and was so upset that he almost took out their number one defenseman that Bruce Cassidy said, look, listen, Backus, you're sitting this one out. And then I watched the video, and yeah, it was bad, but I could definitely tell that Backus didn't mean to do any. He didn't have any intent to injure. So I kind of felt bad for him for being benched for game one. Now game two comes. I think Backus played an excellent game. He brought leadership. You know, he went in the dirty areas. He was gritty. He hit a lot. He basically hit everything that moved. I thought David Backus did what you expect for David Backus. The problem with David Backus is his salary. I think he makes north of $6 million, which is obviously too much for David Backus. But if you look at just how he played on the ice and the type of role he needs to fill, I think he did great. Brad Marchand was the usual Brad Marchand, had a huge nose. David Pastrnak was great, very physical, and I knew David Pastrnak for his skill. I never knew he could be this physical of a player. You know, he was reigniting the big bad Bruins era, and I really like Pasternak's game. I think you know what, if the Bruins keep it up like this, it should be a breeze. A lot of people in Canada, a lot of the analysts on Sportsnet, they like to overhype the Leafs. They like to make it out that they're the best thing since sliced bread. By the way, I don't even know where that expression comes from. There's so many things that are better than sliced bread, like a burrito, just a burrito. So please like and subscribe. Please let me know if you have anything to say. Write if you have any comments. Subscribe, like. I'll be making more recap videos like this. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to put on a jersey, so I'm wearing a Sopranos t-shirt, one of my favorite television series. So please like and subscribe. More videos to come. My name is Matt. Goodbye.